What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of That FPL Show. It is game week 37. We are, it's the final hours, it feels like now, of the Premier League season. I'm joined by Rod. How you doing, mate?
I'm not too bad, mate. I'm a bit tired today after a heavy gym sesh. But yeah, I'm not too bad, bro.
Yeah, that's Sam. What have you been up to this weekend?
So yesterday I had this funny job. Basically, I got asked to train these American journalists in hostile situations. So essentially, I was in an episode of SAS Who Dares Wins, training these journalists for the battlefield in Ukraine in a couple of weeks, putting them through different tasks, essentially torturing them, but it was all for training purposes. So it was quite good, mate. I enjoyed myself.
But you tortured them, but you got paid for it, so it was fine.
Precisely.
Mate, fucking hilarious that sounds. I wish I could have just been there with a camera recording you, stuck up on the channel. Would have been hilarious. But yeah, mate, how you been doing? Like, fucking fantasy-wise, Premier League's been kind of nuts the past few days. It was a big double game week last week, and, looking at your points, you seem to do okay.
Yeah, you see, I was talking to my mate prior to the game week. I was like, bro, James or Cancelo are better options than Salah, but I need to go Salah because he's just going to be so highly captained. So I did go Salah, and then did zilch in the first game. I thought he was quite poor again, and then he was benched for the second game, came on, just got the single point. And the captain kind of just ruined me. I did get 104 points. It got me a red arrow from 42 to 50k. But I did okay, but there were some real high scores. And I mean, KDB scoring 4, who's quite highly owned. Nketiah got a brace in his first game. So there are a lot of differential kind of picks that just kind of shot me in the foot. But I managed to hold my own in the Uni Mini League, which my friend was chasing me rapidly. I put the gap back to 40 points with obviously 2 games to go. And then obviously in our league, I think I'm doing quite well. I think I won it, but James did have a big week. But overall, it was an interesting fantasy week. But the next upcoming one is when I'm going to activate a free hit. So hopefully I can try and make up some ranks.
Yeah, man, you're still up in the top 50k. I think you're doing really well still. I mean, look at your score. I mean, the Salah pick was the letdown probably. I think if you would have maybe even took out Salah, you could have had like an insanely big week. Just because, Salah really hasn't been performing lately. His form has dropped off a cliff, and I mean, for Liverpool, it hasn't really affected them all too much because they've still got those players around him who can get the job done. But looking at your team, you still had a really decent week, mate. Son would have been the perfect captain other than KDB in your team anyway. But yeah, still solid, mate. You're still going hard. Foster on the bench, getting it done for you, as always.
Yeah, Foster, 14 points, which was absolutely crazy. I think a lot of people, I think it was 50% of players activated a bench boost this week. 50% of active players activated a bench boost. And obviously a lot of them would have had Foster, so 14 points is pretty mega. And obviously this is his last season at Watford. It was announced earlier on today.
Yeah, I mean, what a great servant to the club he's been. They have gone down, but it is what it is. Let's get into some proper football, Rod. It was a huge week in terms of the top and the bottom of the league. We've seen multiple changes. I think we'll start with the top of the league. We'll start with the champions, Manchester City. They've now got a 3-point lead over Liverpool after Liverpool drew to Tottenham Hotspur's 1-1. What did you think of the Liverpool Spurs game? I thought Spurs played it really well and really smart, and I thought they was actually unlucky not to come away with the victory.
Yeah, I think this is where Liverpool have lost the league. I mean, it was never theirs in the first place, but I think this is where they have not forfeited, but given it up, because I thought Spurs, they came out very well. I thought they played, the game plan was executed to a T. Obviously, Klopp wasn't happy at the end, but I don't know what he expects. You can't go to Liverpool and match them in terms of press, etc. It doesn't work like that. But yeah, Son obviously scoring the first goal, and I thought flipping it. Then Diaz scoring not long after, but I mean, the gap's 3 points now, 7 goal difference. It's going to take, I think essentially it's going to take a miracle for Liverpool to win, because obviously City's remaining fixtures are West Ham and Villa, whereas Liverpool's, I mean, they've got Southampton and, they've got Southampton and Wolves. So that's, yeah. I mean, Wolves game is quite a difficult one, and they've got to hope that City somehow concede a few goals in their next few games and lose. But I don't know. I think Liverpool, they've given it their all, and I think that Spurs game has decided the title.
Yeah, well, City only need 4 points now, and I think with this Pep team, I think they'll get all six. I just think the way that they play, sometimes it can be boring to watch, and we've definitely given that point over and over again this season that they're boring as fuck. But they're clinical, man. They take their chances the majority of the time, and when they get a couple goals up, they pretty much shut the door, and it's really hard to come back on them. Liverpool, I think they were. Well, Klopp at the end, I think that was a sign of frustration and the fact that he knows the league is gone, just because, the fact that he was moaning about the way Spurs played. In my opinion, Spurs actually, despite playing that way, actually created the better chances out of the two. Despite Liverpool having the majority of the ball and being in the Spurs half the majority of the game, it wasn't the fact that, they are different to City, and City are very adept at breaking down that low block. I don't think Liverpool are that sort of team with the players they've got. They're very good at, winning the ball quickly with the press and then, on a quick counter-attack scoring goals, but breaking down that low block isn't their, strongest point. I think City have now definitely won the league, and I think, deserving champions. I think they've been outstanding once again this year. Yes, they've been boring at times, but the most clinical team in this Premier League. Look at the goals they scored; it's outrageous. And that kind of brings us on now to the top four, because Spurs getting that point against Liverpool, the win would have been insane for them, but obviously the point probably was good enough. And then the other night, yesterday, they went to I don't even know what their stadium's called now, but beating Arsenal in the fashion that they did was insane. What did you make of that game? I think on Arsenal's point, I think they threw it away. I know they're moaning at the referees, but Rob Holding, that elbow was a red card in itself, other than the other 4 fouls he made in the game.
I mean, it set the tone when Rob Holding and Son were scrapping early on, and then a couple of my friends made predictions that Rob Holding would get sent off. I was pretty sure he wouldn't be in such a huge game, but he did. And Spurs, I think, were just brilliant all the way through, especially playing at home, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You've got 60k behind you. I think they were just brilliant all the way through, professional, and they got the job done. And Arsenal, they looked a bit lost. They never really got their foot on the ball properly. I mean, they had a couple chances, but I'd say they were half chances. But I think Spurs were very professional in their performance. And to win the North London derby 3-0 in such obviously great fashion, that does still put them a point behind Arsenal, with a far superior goal difference, of course. But Arsenal are going to be worried, especially with Gabriel coming off injured. Rob Holding obviously got a red card. Ben White hasn't trained all week, hence why he was on the bench last night. They've got some problems, and then this is where you need the big player mentality. This is where you need the morale to still be high, and I do still think Arsenal will see it out and get top four. Obviously, Newcastle away this weekend is a hard game, but I mean the pressure's on Spurs. They need to make up that point. I think Arsenal. I think they will do it. I think they'll be okay and they'll get top four. But I mean, a point with 2 games to go there's a lot to play for still.
I actually disagree. I think the pressure's all on Arsenal. I think Spurs have done a great job getting to this point now where, Arsenal have probably the harder fixtures out the two. They still got to play teams who are, actively playing still to their highest level. You look at Newcastle, despite going on that win streak and making themselves clear, they're still, playing their hardest, especially at home, in which that's where Arsenal have to go this next game week. And, I think it's not Burnley, it's Everton they've got as well. And Everton is still fighting to, stay out that relegation spot. So I think it's going to be really tough for Arsenal to actually get all 6, and I predict that they won't. I actually think Tottenham are my favourites now to get top 4 after that victory. I think, mentality-wise, I think they're going to be taking a big hit, Arsenal, after that defeat. And like you said, injury problems have kind of ruined them. I think the fact that they had to play Tomiyasu at left back to start the game with Cedric at right back, I don't know what Cedric's even doing there. The man didn't impress me when he was at Southampton. and now he's an Arsenal player and he's playing in a big game like that. I thought, it was pretty shocking. But for me, yeah, I actually favour Tottenham. I think they've put all the pressure on Arsenal because it's now Arsenal's to lose, and I think they will do it. I think they'll lose it.
I think Arsenal's depth is just very questionable. I was looking at the lineups, obviously pre-match yesterday, and looking at the bench. And I think if you need someone to come off the bench, okay, you've got Smith Rowe, but I think that's about it. There's not really anyone you see there that can, like, you feel can change a game. And there's a few youth players. Whereas I think Spurs, they have the more conditioned pros in Bergwijn, Lucas Moura, etc. And obviously I think they've got a lot of depth. And I mean, Antonio Conte has done a great job. Whether he's still here come next year, we'll find out in the summer. But we know what Levi's like to try and negotiate and work with. But yeah, as we said, Arsenal go away to Newcastle. Spurs do have Burnley at home, but Burnley, they are fighting for their lives. So I think that'll be an interesting game. It is the early kickoff, so definitely one to watch. But I don't know. It's definitely spiced up the top four race. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's been super interesting. For a while I thought top four was kind of done, but now it sits back on with the final two games remaining. It's going to be insane. I guess we move to the bottom of the table, Rod. Leeds United. I don't know if you saw this clip of when they were losing to Chelsea and the fans not giving the ball back to Rafinha. I thought that was hilarious, but basically they've kind of fucked it now. At one point we thought, Ted Lasso had saved them. And now they look kind of fucked. I honestly think it's going to be really hard for them to get out of the bottom three.
I was looking, and like if Everton get a point on the weekend and Leeds lose, that essentially puts Everton safe, and then it's between Burnley and Leeds. Leeds just, the morale's down. They've got virtually zero players. Mate, it's a big job, and I think I can't. Burnley somehow always find a way. I mean, albeit they have got Spurs this weekend, where Leeds have Brighton at home, which probably is a bit of a boost. But Brighton have been on some hot form, and they can turn up and absolutely smash you. But I don't know, as a Leeds fan, that goal difference is severely worrying, and it could come down to goal difference on the last day of the season.
Yeah, and for me, I think you look at the Leeds players and their attitude, they kind of look like they've gone down already. They look very frustrated. I think you look at the challenge from Dan James, that's not normally a player you would, kind of put to that challenge, in your head. I think it's just signs of frustration, and, I think they've already kind of gone down. I'd love Leeds to stay up just because they are a big club. For me, I've always wanted Everton to go down just to shake things up. Burnley, for me, I just wanted them to stay up because of Sean Dyche, but now he's gone. Fuck them. They can get binned. But yeah, I think it's really, it's hard to predict, but for me, I think Leeds just don't have what it takes. I think you've made points all season that they have got good players in certain positions. You look at the likes of Rafinha. I think Calvin Phillips is overrated, but I think he is good for... Pardon?
That's a shocking evaluation. Calvin Phillips is probably one of the best midfielders in the Premier League.
Oh, come on. He is overrated, Rod. He is overrated.
If it wasn't for Calvin Phillips, Leeds would be down a long time ago. He's instrumental in that midfield. Okay, against Chelsea, had a bit of a shocker, I'd admit that. But in terms of brilliant with the ball, can defend well, intercept, tackle. I think he's a great midfielder, and I can see someone like United going for him. I'd love him at Villa in the summer. Would absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I think the fact that he's been talked about like he's this top player who could play for a winning side.
Good man.
I don't think he is. I think they compare him to Declan Rice. I think there's a difference in levels, man. I think what Rice offers compared to Phillips. I think Phillips is a good player, and yeah, he could slot into that Villa team quite nicely. But I'm just saying that if you look at a City or Liverpool side, I don't think he gets anywhere near it. I think Liverpool's the only club where you could say maybe, but the fact that they have Fabinho who sits, I just don't think he would get into the squad. I think Liverpool need 2 8s 100%, but I just don't think Phillips is as good as they say. I still think he's a good player. I just think he is overrated. And I think that's fair because I think after that World Cup, I think he was rated very highly. But I mean, did he do all that much? I don't think so. I think England actually lacked a bit of creativity in there. But yeah,
That's down to Gareth Southgate's tactics. But bar Manchester City and Liverpool, I agree. I don't think he gets into that because I rate Rodri and Fabinho very highly, and they are not the. I think to be fair, I wouldn't put him ahead of Fabinho or Rodri, but I think below that, I think he gets into anyone's squad.
I don't think he gets into Spurs' squad.
He definitely gets ahead of Bentancur.
I don't think so. I think Bentancur's more of a player who looks to go forward with the ball, and I don't think he could play that role. But I mean, it is what it is. We're fucking arguing over little shits now. But yeah.
But yeah, just on Leeds again. Obviously, yeah, you made a good point. I think they just look frustrated, like Ayling two-footing Martinelli early on when Martinelli was essentially going nowhere, and then Dan James making a reckless tackle. And you want to see fight, but you want to see it channeled in the right way. And losing players like that, you can't be losing players like that in a relegation battle. And I think the heads have dropped at the most important stage of the season, and Burnley still have 3 games to go, level on points with Leeds.
Yeah, but what I was going to say before we had the Calvin Phillips debate was that they do have these decent players. I was putting Phillips in one of them, and the likes of Rafinha, but I think what they've always lacked is that ruthless ability up top. I know that they had Patrick Bamford last season, and he actually did well for them, but I never thought that he kind of, you know, the eye test didn't like him, in my opinion. Well, my eye test didn't like him. I thought that they've always needed a bit more of a ruthless finisher up top, some more creativity in that team for sure. And the backline has been sketchy for a while now. For me, you know, they go down, they're going to be kind of fucked because of the release clauses in Phillips' contract and Rafinha's. I think they could lose them for both for around 50 million in total, which would be devastating for them because I think this club needs a huge rebuild. And I think, to be honest, if they could maybe stay up and get rid of both of them for high amounts of money, they could invest in multiple positions and maybe improve the team. But I think they're going to go down, Rod, and I think losing those two, you know, I think Leeds might not be able to get up for another 2-3 years.
They like if they do stay up, I mean, they need a huge overhaul whether they go down or not. They haven't got the squad good enough. There's just not enough depth there, and I know Bielsa like to keep a squad quite thin, quite threadbare, and work with just a small group of players. But
He's kind of
in the Premier League, you need a decent depth, and Bamford being out injured basically for essentially the whole season. You've got obviously Dallas, who's got injured a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was this week, having surgery. They are running low on players, and I don't know. It's nervy times for Leeds because obviously they waited 16 years to come up. They had such a great season last year, finishing I think it was 9th, and then this year it's been quite underwhelming. It just hasn't quite clicked as it did last year, and yeah, they need to sign a good few players. They need a huge transfer window. We were saying upwards of 100 million, 150 more. They need 4 or 5 players easily.
I think they need more than that.
We know what Leeds owners are like. They might not put their hands in the pocket, but as a Leeds fan, I would be a bit worried about these next couple games.
Well, I think Bielsa has kind of fucked them in a way because he fucked himself first by, like you said, he did like a smaller, thinner squad in terms of players he liked to work with. And I think if you actually look at their youth, they got some decent players. I think Gallagher, when he's come in this season, to look decent. But, you know, like you said, the amount of players that they've had with injuries as well, they've been stricken by injuries all season. I don't think they've been able to have like a consistent 11 for many games at all, especially with their best players. And, you know, in terms of the squad now, and Jesse March taking over, he hasn't got the options that I think he'd like. You know, I think not going hard in January has probably cost them really hard as well. I find it hard to see them getting out of it. I think Burnley have probably just got enough to probably get a point on the final day of the season, and I just don't see Leeds getting a win. You know, I would love to see them stay up. I think it'd be fun if they went down, but I think they will struggle to get back up. I do, just because I think of In my opinion, I think they've got quite an aging squad. You look at the likes of like Aylin, Cooper, Dallas. I think the likes of Forshaw are going to be gone as well. It's going to take a lot of rebuilding, and I think they are basically like a Manchester United of the lower half of the table, where they need a huge overhaul, but they haven't actually got the quality to stay in the league.
I think obviously Leeds' final two games, Brighton and Brentford, two difficult games. If I was to, I say they beat Brentford on the last day,
Is it at
so
home
that
or away?
I believe it is. It's away.
Yeah, I
I,
don't.
I feel like they beat Brentford at the end of the year, at the end of the season. That would put them 37. I think Burnley, their final games are Spurs, Villa, Newcastle. I think they get 1 point. I think Burnley go down. I think Leeds stay up.
Phew, it's going to be interesting either way. I can't wait for this. Yeah, I think the sooner the season's over, the better for me. We've got FA Cup this weekend as well, Rod. I think we should probably just do a quick, prediction for the FA Cup final because, it's not in the Premier League fixtures. But who do you think is going to take this FA Cup final?
We have also got Championship playoffs 10 tomorrow, so great little prelude to the FA Cup final. But FA Cup wise, losing Fabinho in the Villa game for Liverpool, I think is going to prove costly. Chelsea, they are notorious for turning up on the day and getting a job done. Um, it's hard to see past the Liverpool win, but as we saw in the Carling Cup earlier on in the year, or Carabao Cup, should I say, Liverpool just coming past on penalties after bringing Kepa on for Chelsea, which is mental. I'm going to go with a Chelsea 2-1 in normal time.
Yeah, I think the Fabinho is huge. I really think that, Liverpool have done really well to be in the position they're in throughout these past, 3 or 4 years because for me, their midfield is fucked. Like the fact that they've got Naby Keita playing when, I mean, he is shocking in my opinion. I really don't rate him at all. I think that if they don't go big next summer in that midfield position, they might fall behind a little bit. But for me in this game, I think it's huge. I think if Kovacic is fit as well, I know that injury was kind of a bad one. But if he's fit, I think he could play a big role in this game, especially with moving the ball forward. I think I'd like to see Lukaku start in this game. I think his form's been a lot better as of late. And I think he could definitely have a bit of an impact against that Liverpool defence. I think that Chelsea are going to get over the line. I'm actually going to go with a 1-0 win. I think they'll win it late on, maybe in something like the 80th minute on a counter-attack. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun game. It's going on Sunday, right?
No, it's happening on Saturday at 4:45.
Okay, yeah, that's fucking sound, to be fair. A really good slot to have it in. I can't wait to watch that game.
Hopefully the sun is out and I'll be sinking some beverages, that's for sure. But it should be a good game. FA Cup final, it always pleases.
It does indeed, yeah. We'll go to the Premier League fixtures now for this week. I think so. It is double game week, isn't it? Once again, yeah. Okay, so Sunday's fixtures. We got Spurs Burnley at 12 o'clock. I think this is a game which Spurs go ham once again, apply that pressure on Arsenal.
You see, I'm on Captain Son, but for some reason I've just got this. I'm not superstitious, but I hate the early kickoff because then it kind of for me sets the tone for the game week, and I never back the early kickoff unless it's Mo Salah. But I think I'm gonna have to back Son purely on form. Huge game, Spurs and Burnley. I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs.
Have you thought about maybe taking Salah out and bringing in Kane?
I've got I'm more than happy with having just Son.
Because for me, I think Salah's form has really dropped off a cliff, and I could see him, maybe getting somewhere between 2 and 3 goals now before the end of the season at most. But I think in your position, you're looking for those differential points, and I think bringing in Kane could probably help with that. But it is what it is. I think Spurs are going to win as well. I'm actually going to go with 4-0 Spurs at home. Early kickoff. I know it's normally a bit of a hard one to predict, but it is what it is. I'm going to go Spurs. Villa against Crystal Palace at Villa Park. 2 o'clock kickoff. I think Palace are going to win here. I thought that Villa did look good actually against Liverpool, and in that game, can I just say, this is my problem with Liverpool all season. For me, I actually feel like they have had some crazy refereeing decisions go their way, because in that game, some of the things that ref was doing, it was fucking criminal.
Like Gerard was right; he needs to be looked at because it was just a ridiculous performance. And I know Ollie Watkins was in the offside initially in the build-up, but the goal happened multiple phases of play after, so I don't think that's an argument. But like, just the decisions were just ludicrous.
The
Like,
Douglas Luiz
and
foul.
it just makes you laugh. Like thinking, is the referee probably the most important man on the pitch? And if he's against you, then you're fucked all game. But at home to Palace. I think Palace away from home haven't got the best of record, but nevertheless, I think Vieira's done a great job, and he's up for manager of the season, and rightly so. I'm going to go 2-2.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to go with a Palace 3-1 win. But what I did really enjoy about that Villa-Liverpool game was the fact that despite Liverpool being Gerrard's club, he fucking took it to them really hard, and I thought that you were deserving of the win, to be honest. I think a couple of the decisions, like the handball, Virgil van Dijk, there's a couple weird ones, man. But Danny Ings as well, I thought he turned up for once, but
I thought he was brilliant, and obviously he was offside, but nevertheless, that was a great finish, I thought.
Yeah, I agree, man. Leeds versus Brighton.
Huge game. Absolutely mega for Leeds. This if they get a win here, I think they're safe. But Brighton, Potter's been brilliant this year, and I think obviously they slapped United last week 4-0. And when they turn up the heat, they turn up the heat. And I think they've got an average squad. I don't think it's a great squad at all. Probably slightly better than average. That's harsh, but he's done wonders with that squad. Going away to Leeds is always difficult. That Ellen Road crowd, never like they're always bouncing, and I've got to admit they probably have the best supporters in the league in terms of noise, etc. I'm going to go 2-1 Brighton. I think it's going to be a late win there.
Yeah, man. I actually forgot about the United 4-0. I thought that was just a dream. But yeah, I think, who are we doing? Leeds, yeah. So I think Brighton probably get the job done. I think probably 2-1. I do think the fact that they do kind of lack that sort of, well, it's hard to say clinicalness and probably ruthless striker because of the fact they beat us 4-0, but I think that the lack of that probably will make the game a lot closer than it probably should be. Watford against Leicester, I think that this is a boring game. I'm going to go 0-0.
Yeah, you're right. It's a pretty redundant game. I imagine it's Watford's last game at home in the Premier League, so they'll probably want to try and put on a show for the final game in the Prem. I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, I think that's fair. West Ham against City. For me, I just think City have been too clinical. I don't think they take the risks, to lose, and that's why I think they get this job done 2-0 pretty easily.
Fair enough. I think if City win, I think the league's basically confirmed, isn't it?
They just don't have to lose then on the final day.
I mean, even if they do lose, they have to lose by a considerable goal margin, wouldn't they? I think 2-0 City. I think West Ham are. They are still fighting, mind for looking at the table for Europa League. They're 3 points behind you with a game in hand. They're going to want that Europa League again and try and mount a charge.
Yeah,
I'm going to go 2-1 though. I think City will win.
They can have that. I want Conference League, man. All right, Wolves against Norwich. Oh my god, I think you just got to go with a Wolves win, like 2-0 probably.
After City's absolute slapping Wolves with a KDB 4-goal storm, I think they will beat Norwich. Norwich have been horrific this year. I don't think sacking Farker was the right choice. Obviously, Dean Smith had a mountain to climb. He did not climb that mountain, but yeah, 2-0 Wolves.
Man, they just don't know how to put a squad together for the Premier League. Plain and simple.
They just don't have the money. That's simple as that. They just don't have the money.
I don't think it's even that, man. I think it's the fact that they don't invest in the right areas. I think they blitz the Championship every year, but I think what they need to do is they need to look at a certain type of player who is going to be dogged enough to kind of, be able to fight in the positions that they know they're going to be in a relegation fight. Yet they came up to the Premier League, in my opinion, with players who are too, kind of fancy and not really the sort of players you need. I'd like to see them maybe, invest heavily in some centre backs and some midfielders, because I think that's where they've lacked all season. I said, what did I say? 2-0 Wolves. Everton against Brentford. I think this is a fun game. I think Brentford are actually going to get a victory here. I think Everton need a win, but something about Brentford, man. I love them. Tony, I'm going to go with Tony and Ericsson to get it done here. 2-1.
I'm quite pleased this game's televised. 4:30 kickoff on a Sunday. Probably going to be dying. But Everton, they need a win here. Brentford, Thomas Frank is up for Manager of the Year. Everton at home do have a good record, so I'm going to go 2-1 Everton.
Who isn't up for Manager of the Year? That's what I want to know, because everyone's up for Manager of the Year for you. I want to know if Ollie is Ollie
this
up
is
for it.
The official Premier League releasing Manager of the Year. Arteta is not up for it, which is obviously the next fixture.
He don't deserve to be up for it.
I think he does, because no one would have said Arsenal would have got top four. I mean, they still haven't, but I think he's done wonders with I don't even think it's a great squad. Okay, yeah, he spent a lot of money, but Eddie Howe is up for it. And I understand the position he took Newcastle over, but he still only had half a year.
Yeah, but his half a year's been more impressive than what Arteta's done all year, in my opinion. I think Arsenal are only in a position of top four because teams above them who should have been getting that position have really fucking bottled it and played shit all year. I think Spurs fucked it early on in the season, and I think that United have been absolute shambles all year. But if, let's say it was an actual competent United squad who would get, whatever sort of point total you think it is, that you think that they would get that top four, it should have been written on. But I mean, you look at their point total, I think the most points we can get is how many is it? 61 points. That's ridiculous, man. I just don't think they've been. I think Arsenal are in a position due to, they have been more consistent than the other teams, but I think a lot of it is down to luck and the other teams being around them not being there. I mean, I know you can only play what you can play, but that's my opinion.
But this is a blank Man United game week.
Yes, it is. We've already played.
Happy days for you then.
Yeah, I don't have to cry myself to sleep again. But yeah, Newcastle and Arsenal. I think Newcastle get it done here, mate. I honestly do. I think at home, their fans are crazy. One of the best atmospheres, I think, now in the Premier League since the new ownership and the new run of form. I think Newcastle, St James's Park has been absolutely rocking. I'm going to go with Newcastle win here. I'm going to go 2-1. I think Arsenal probably score late on and probably look to try and get that second goal, but Jay just can't do it.
I do agree with you. Going away to Newcastle is a very tough task for Arsenal. I think it's asking a lot. Newcastle have been on some good form recently. I think they have lost the last couple of games, but prior to that they'd won 3. It's hard. Arsenal, this is where they need to show their dogged mentality and fight. And I do think they're going to win though. I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. Purely the agenda of Arteta being nominated for match of the match.
I don't think they got that doggedness, to be honest, mate. Southampton against Liverpool. I think Liverpool mollywop them. To be honest, I think Southampton have been really disappointing this year. I'm surprised I'm really surprised they've been in the position they're in, because at the start of the season I actually thought they would have been one of the clubs who would have been maybe looking at a relegation fight, just because of the fact that they really haven't invested in that squad now for a while.
Yeah, it's understandable. Sorry, what, are we in the Southampton game, yeah?
Yes, mate.
Yeah, sorry, I went blank for a second then. Southampton, they're just such a weird team. I think there's lots of shouts for Hasenhüttl to be fired. I think you kind of know what you're getting with Southampton, but this year they have been disappointing. I mean, they're on 40 points. Disappointing season. They've had some outstanding players throughout with James Ward-Prowse, who has been nominated for Player of the Season. But Liverpool, they need to win this game and somehow just keep putting up a fight. It'd be interesting to see their mentality if they do lose the FA Cup on the weekend. But Southampton, they're going away to it is a game they're going to look at and they're like, we need to score goals here. So I'm going to go 3-0 Liverpool.
Yeah, and we're probably going to be doing our like team of the season and awards on like Monday or Tuesday. For me, I think it's hard to pick a player of the season just because I think Salah started off so good, fell off heavily in the new year. I think De Bruyne started off slow, but has gone on to be insane in this, later stages of the season. It is really hard to pick. I don't know if I'll even pick one of those. It is a real hard one, but be sure to tune in for that. To see our team of the season, manager of the year, player of the year, young player of the year, flop of the year, and probably something else I can't even remember. But yeah, that'll be an interesting one to do. Move on to Everton against Crystal Palace. I think Everton at home once again. I think this is where they probably pick up a point or three. I'm actually going to go over 2-1 Everton.
No, but I mean, every game for Everton's huge. They are at home. Having 2 home fixtures in the double game week for them is huge. We know Lampard, he's been doing bits at home. I am going to say, I do think Palace do just edge it though, 2-1 Palace.
Yeah, fair enough. Villa against Burnley, this is massive. This is the game we was meant to be at, Rod. On a
all those months ago.
Yeah, we ended up just going on the fucking lash because it was cancelled in Birmingham. So I mean, it ended up being all right. Rob was trying to play some game on the train home, but it is what it is. I'm gonna go with a Villa win here, mate. Honestly, I think you whopped them the other week.
It was quite surprising when we scored early on. For me, I didn't think we were that good throughout the whole game, and they had multiple chances to score more. McNeil missing a couple sitters, Weghorst missing a couple good chances. So I think 3-1 flattered us a lot. I didn't think we were great. I didn't really think we had to get out of second gear. And 3-1, I mean, it's quite a fantastic scoreline. But I think this game, and that was away at Turf Moor as well, this under the lights at Villa Park, rescheduled from all those many months ago from COVID. I think we beat them 2-0.
Yeah, I think I think the same. I think something around there 2-0. Decent scoreline. Chelsea against Leicester to finish off the game week. I think Chelsea, off the highs of winning the FA Cup, I think they lose this game.
I don't know.
I'll go 2-1 Leicester.
2-1 Leicester. I think Leicester just haven't impressed me recently. I don't know what it is. Probably got a hangover from the Conference League. I don't know. There's Leicester been also quite a weird team this year. Obviously, looking at the table, I mean, they are sitting in 10th on 45 points. But it's been quite an up and down season for them. They've pulled off some good results. They've had some shockers. And I think this is a game Chelsea will look at and think we can win quite comfortably. So I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea.
I think that's fair enough, mate. Yeah, it's a decent week of fixtures, to be fair. Kicks off on Sunday in the Premier League, but like you said, we've got playoffs today, tomorrow, and then we got FA Cup as well tomorrow, so that should be really fucking good. Thank you for watching, guys. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. We're going to be doing some probably more fun stuff in the off-season, probably doing some fucking tier lists and shit like that. So yeah, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you, Rod, for joining us once again.
As always, mate, it's a pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much. And until next time, guys, take care of yourselves and we'll see you later. Bye.